And this has an additional property that the G times the associated variety. I mean, not all AQs satisfy this, but each cell contains one that does. And that is G dot U. Q is L plus U. And this implies the multiplicity, I'll say mu inverse F is a flag variety. So you can compute the multiplicity. And if you know it for one element in the cell, you know it for all elements in the cell, because the cell representation is irreducible. So you can write any element of the cell as some W combination over 1. And the fact is, which I guess I haven't said yet, but the map from, let's say from the cell representation to multiplicity polynomial is W everywhere. So again, if you know it at one element of the cell, and the cell is irreducible, you know it for all. Okay, then the other, for other groups, ST, 2NR and SOPQ are almost exactly the same as UPQ. It's a little more complicated to write down, but it works in essentially the same way. For SO star 2N, STPQ, it doesn't work quite as well. And one can write a good algorithm to find the generic element F and the associated variety. But the Springer fiber isn't quite an iterated bundle, and you can't apply all day to compute the multiplicity. But what you can do instead is, for each cell with a discrete series, you can find another discrete series in that cell for which the Springer fiber component can be computed easily and is homogeneous. So that means you found one guy in the cell for which you know the multiplicity polynomial. And then you have to show, then you have to show that that element generates the cell. Then this principle works. But doing that requires the coherent continuation, which the atlas provides, of course, using the Kazhdan-Lustig polynomials. And so that can be done. And, okay, so I guess now let's start to think a little bit more about how the atlas might do this. And what we have is 3 W harmonic polynomials on H. That's an H. Yeah, the multiplicity polynomials and the golden rank polynomial. That's associated to the annihilator of the representation. And then you have this guy. This is computed in terms of the A, YWs coming from the Kazhdan-Lustig polynomials at 1 for the category O. And oh yeah, and I have LWs for the unique irreducible quotient of this firm, and maybe I want a minus sign there, I'm not sure. And these polynomials are all multiples of each other. You have a Harish-Chandra module with annihilator LW, then these are all multiples of each other. So that's an important fact. And the atlas will compute this guy exactly. Okay, so what you conclude from that is that if you know the multiplicity for one guy in the coherent family, then you know it for all. And because you know the multiplicity polynomial is a multiple, the one in terms of Harish-Chandra polynomials at one. And if you know it for one, you can find the constant. But you have to know the annihilator. That's where the W comes from, right? This guy, this guy has a W in it coming from the annihilator. So you need to know the annihilator. I'm sorry, I got to leave the button. And then you can turn it around. You can say if you know the multiplicity polynomial, then you can find the annihilator, because you can find the PW that's a multiple of it. So sort of finding the annihilator and finding the multiplicity polynomial is pretty close. Okay, so now let's take a Harish-Chandra cell. And this Peter said most of, I think. Associated variety is constant on the cell. Each cell representation. So I'm writing C as the cell and B sub C as the cell representation, subquotient here in the configuration, which the atlas computes. Then, yeah, I already said that. Then for each cell representation contains a unique special representation, and it corresponds to the associated variety of annihilator, Springer correspondence. And this is the W equivariance that I mentioned a minute ago. Okay, so, well, as was mentioned, if you know the coherent continuation representation, you can compute the associated variety of annihilator, and you can compute what special representation is there. Well, you know its character, and you can look up on some tables or something special representations that, and you can decompose the character and see which the special representation is. And then you can determine the orbit that corresponds, because that is known also. Okay, yeah, and so all this information is contained on a web page. Vern Vinegar, he has sort of computed all this and listed associated varieties of the orbits and the representations decomposing the cell representation. Yeah, I decided to put some atlas output here, just because everybody's doing that. And there's the command print W cells that will give information about the cells. And I actually left a little bit out because it was only so big. But kind of the relevant part is this. And SP4, cell number 2, 3 elements. And that's exactly the one that Peter wrote and that I kind of repeated here. 3 of them, that's the 3. And this tells you how the coherent continuation goes. You have to sort of look at the health file and see exactly what it means. But that gives the coherent continuation representation. And it's easy. And there's now a command called W cells that does all this. It doesn't just print it out, but it actually computes it, and you can use it in a script that Mark just made a couple days ago. Okay, and then on Burns webpage, he also has something called W-cell reps. I'm not sure that, I don't think that's an actual Atlas command or anything. But he lists all the cells and information, cell size, the W representation, special representations, dimension, and the orbit partition form. And for the exceptional groups, he has some way of listing, like, I think exactly as in Carter. So you can look all that stuff up. Yeah, a couple more facts. The special representation associated to O occurs in degree D equal to this. That's the dimension of that Springer fiber. And it occurs in that degree of polynomials on H and no lower degree. That's sort of an important fact. And then the cell representation decomposes into the special and other stuff, none of which is special, and all occurs in degrees higher than D. Okay, so what you can conclude from this is that there's a W homomorphism from the cell representation to degree D polynomials, or the symmetric algebra on H. And if you know that, you know a whole lot, because this is essentially the map sending the cell to the polynomials, the multiplicity polynomials. Well, up to some scalar. And so if you can find this map, then it will tell you the multiplicity polynomials up to the scale, and that will tell you the annihilators. And a little remark here is that David has an algorithm which I assume will be part of the Atlas soon, sometime, and it will compute the associated cycle of a Harish-Chandra function. So it will give you integers times orbits. And if you take an element in the cell, if you know this, I should say, if you know this phi, then you take one element in the cell, it gives you the associated variety and an integer, so you can normalize this map to get exactly the multiplicity, and not just the multiple. Okay, and a somewhat weaker thing that I think the Atlas can do right now, and that is take an arbitrary cell and contains a special representation, let that be the character. Then this guy is the projection. Is that a Y? I'm going to put the Y there. That's a V. This is the projection from the cell representation to the special component. And what's required here, you have to know what the special representation is, and that's, on those tables, the Atlas is computed it. And so you know that, some over the bottom group, you know the coherent continuation representation. And so you can compute this, this projection. And if you take an irreducible in the cell, then the projection is a linear combination of other guys in the cell. And those other guys that occur are exactly the elements in the cell having the same annihilator. So this would tell you which elements in the cell have common annihilators. Okay, so here is an example. This is SP4R, and the same cell we've been talking about has 3 elements, and the associated variety of annihilators 2, 2. and the special representation is the reflection representation. I think Peter said that. Then Atlas tells you what these matrices are. In fact, Jeff wrote a little script that actually just gives you the matrices. And I guess that'll be included soon. And the projection operator is exactly this. And apply it to elements of the cell. X0 is 0 plus 2. So these two representations have the same annihilator. It's also this one. And the other one is this. And then you can...
Sorry, go back to slide. I just want one more slide. Remind me, how's P defined?
P is the projection from the cell to the special component of the cell. And then you ask, how do you find this phi from the cell to the polynomials? And D is 1 in this case. And I don't know how you would find it in general, but here X0 generates the cell. You can check it. X1 is this, and then you can write X2 in terms of it also. And the Talon variant is the first root. It's the first root. And so that means the image of this guy, d of x naught, has to transform by the sign of x1. That means it's got to be a multiple of this guy. The first root is this. And so up to a multiple, the multiplicity polynomial is lambda 1 minus lambda 2. And you can figure out what this is too, because you know x1 in terms of x0, and you get 2 lambda 2 for the multiplicity polynomial, up to a constant. And then, x0 is the homomorphic discrete series, and you know that the multiplicity polynomial is the dimension of k representation, so it's lambda 1 minus lambda 2. And so, as it turns out, I wrote it normalized properly. And then one can decompose the cell representation like that. And let me make one more comment. In doing things like this projection, you have to know ahead of time what the special representation is and what its character is. And, presumably, well, Peter said you can get that from GAC. But I think you can, I think the atlas can sort of just compute that. And what you can do is take the character of the cell representation, and then, maybe this is kind of dumb and not very efficient and so forth, but you could take the character of the cell. I'm sorry, the character of the, how about I call it sigma sub c, calling sigma there, so for a fixed cell. And then you could take the character of S1 of H. If that's 0, move to S2. If that's 0, move to S3. And then at some point, you get 1 because of this fact that says the cell representation contains the special in some degree, and everything else in the cell representation is higher degree. So the first time you get 1, you have your D. And that doesn't tell you the orbit, but I guess it tells you the dimension of the orbit. And then you want to get the character of the special representation. So you take, again, a projection operator that's I of, you can say, W, acting on S and P. And the image of that is the special component in S and P. And then, you apply this to a basis of, to the cell, which is the basis, and then you get something that spans the component, and you can find the basis in that, and then compute the character. And so, I don't know if that's a reasonable thing to do for low dimensions. This was probably fine. Okay, so I think that's all I said. Oh, look at that. Oh, no. We already saw that. Yeah.
Questions?
What you suggest at the end is a very nice idea. I mean, there's a lot of summing over the vial group in it, and my guess is that that is likely to be practical when the vial group might be a few thousand or something like that, or maybe a bit.
Not practical if it's a lot.
Yeah, it's not practical for E8, but it's really interesting. I mean, I think Byrne already computed the cells as vial group representations in the real forms of E8, and for complex E8, Lustig calculated the cells, who knows how, without computing anything. Without summing over the vial group of E8. So, sort of those things are all done for the exceptional groups, roughly. So it's interesting.